I am Kesi Neblett, also known as The Mole from season 1 of The Mole on Netflix. We are back. Specifically, we're back to talk to the season 2 cast about all things strategy, the ups and downs of being on reality TV, and what makes us unique. Oh my god. And so then, okay, you also mentioned you got a lot going on. How have you been handling the spotlight? Because it kind of happens really rapidly. Like, you're just waiting. The announcement comes out, the trickles come in. Then everyone, your family knows, your friends knows, but when it drops, like, the world knows. So how has that been for you, like, just being in front of the world?
Yeah, honestly, a big part of me was like very, very anxious for this to come out. Like, I was thinking about it every day, like, I'm gonna be hated or whatever, because
Really?
there's a lot of scenes that don't per se make it right. And I'm grateful for how I look on screen. But there was a part where I turned up on everybody. I was like, no, you know what? Y'all want to be funny. And I started like singling people out. Like, it was like during the dinner table after somebody took the exemption. Another exemption, the card or whatever, like the correction.
Yeah.
There was a scene there where I was just so shocked, and like a part of me is so naive and thinking that like just because I wouldn't do something, no one else is gonna do it, and like forgetting it's a game, right? And so I'm like, really? Okay, let's get funny now. Like, I'm like, let's get hilarious in here, and I'm like calling people out one by one. And like one person started to cry, and it wasn't because of anything. Well, no, I didn't call that person out. They were just crying, like, because it was a lot, right? Like, damn, people aren't gonna trust me and stuff. And I'm like, oh my god, people are gonna see that and be like, Jen's a bully or something, or I don't know, right? Like, I was just like, what? How are they gonna perceive that scene? I'm a very emotions led to a degree. And so I'm like, I already know my emotions got the best of me. I already know no one likes to be yelled at. And so like that part, I was like dreading to see like my mom, my friends, my dad. I mean, my dad's a calm soul. And so he's just going to be like, what the hell? And so like that part, like I was legit scared. And I knew the crying scene was bad. And to honestly, Netflix spared me because it was even worse than that. Like, I feel like they took the best part they could possibly take, even though you still saw like snot and stuff. Like, I was like, I couldn't talk for a little bit. Like, I was like, ooh. Like, I was just so shocked. I'm like, am I being punked? Like, there's no way, like, respectfully, like, I'm one of the smartest people here. And I'm not saying that to be cocky. I just, respectfully, right? Like, in terms of even, like,
your track record is not even, like, you don't even have to say respectfully. It's just kind of, like, factually.
Right.
You, PhD, Masters, 4.0, House of 26. Like, it's kind of just a fact. Okay, but sorry, continue. Yeah.
No, for sure. Yeah, and I felt that way too. And then, like I said, I think I've said it in like other interviews, like I had, after the first mission, I wrote down 3 names of 100% who I thought it was going to be. And I switched all of those after somebody took the card. And one of the first ones was Sean. Like, that was, I was expecting Sean, Michael, and Ryan, and for different reasons. And I'm like, if I stuck to that. And now I'm like, should I have stuck to my first question, right? Because I took all of them out. Well, no, I left Michael in there and then replaced Sean, and Ryan was, Melissa and Deanna. And so like it was so many emotions going through my mind, and it takes me such a while to process. Like I said, I'm emotions led, and so I'm just like, there's no way that one of the smartest people here, there's just no way. I'm like, what the hell are the odds? Because I was like nervous when I was going into it, but I'm like, yo, I have a 1 like in 12 chance, like it's, or 11, whatever, like what are the odds it'll be me? And I'm just like, hell no, like this is clearly a joke. There has to be a mistake. And so I was just like, really, I didn't take it well at all, which no one would. But I just feel like Netflix was very gracious in the way they like showed the last scene, because I feel like there were other instances of like full blown like sobbing, and I'm just like, this is crazy. And so yeah, like I was very anxious, and I'm like, I hate people seeing me cry. Like, I am a crier, but I still hate it, right? I hate crying in front of people. I try to cry to myself if I need to or whatever. And so I'm like, oh my god, now the whole world's gonna see that. Like, people are gonna talk whether you do good or you do bad, right? And so like a lot of it was anxiousness for me. Yeah. And thank you. And then when I saw it, I'm like, no worries. Like, I was like, this is a really good cut. I love how they did it. I love like how they showed everything. It was some things I wish they did show versus what they did show, but I'm like, you'll never get 100% happy cut. So, I was like a relieved, I guess, once the show came out. And I've been getting so much love from everybody. Like, I've seen like literally one or two negative things, and those were like not even like negative to hurt my feelings. They were just like stupid, honestly. Like, oh, Jen's annoying. Like, you're annoying actually. But, I was just like, if that was something that made me anxious too, because I feel like I can be a little spicy or argumentative. So I'm like, Lord, please don't let me go spiraling and replying to people. That's something I prayed about beforehand. Like, I don't want to be replying to every comment of, like, people are entitled to their opinions. And so I've been getting so much love. I haven't even had to, like, say something. Not saying I personally would at this stage, but, I mean, I think it was the best possible outcome for the way everything went down, to be honest.
Oh, that's beautiful. So it's just like, it sounds like so far, like, because the comments have been good, you haven't really had to deal with, like, how would you process something that was negative? That's not really occurring often, it sounds like.
Yeah, 100%. I think the worst comment I've seen was Jen looks like sexy red, and respectfully, like that one I wanted to reply to, but I'm like, this is not an argument I want to start having. Like, be for real, ma'am. Like, girl, be for real.
No, that is not real.
No, like, I know it's so far from the truth. It's like so this,
far.
Like, girl, what part of me looks like that one? Like the annoying. I saw one that was like, Jen's annoying, and I'm like, okay. I saw one that said F Jen, hashtag the mole. The hell? I'm like, you know what? People are gonna troll you. That one I honestly thought was funny, but the sexy red one, I'm like, nah, I think I might have to step into this one. But I'm like, you know what? It's not worth it.
Okay,
like,
for the record, you do not look like sexy red. I'm gonna just not at all. It's just not there. And the second thing I'm going to say is that just like, I know that it's really hard. Like, I'm sure you had a lot of visions for how you thought this was going to go and hopes of how you thought this was going to go. But watching you in one episode, Jen, I was like, this girl is like so impactful. It just felt like you were very genuine, very much yourself, really funny. I honestly laughed so many times, and you were just being yourself. And I was like, she's not acting like anyone else but who she is. And I think that I hope that you look back, because again, no one wants to go home first, and I hate that. Someone has to do it. And it's really like, it's not even like strategy or anything at that point. It's just luck for the most part.
Plain old luck.
Yeah, but just know, like, just realize how in one episode you were so impactful. Like 1.5.
Thank
so
you.
Impactful and so much fun to watch. And I hope that you can you know that.
No, yeah, I do. I feel that, and I also feel like I'm just so happy that a Black woman like was able to do that. I just feel as though, a lot of people who look like us don't have that opportunity or whatever, or like you'll go on there and you hide behind the scenes because you're afraid to be your authentic self. And honestly, when I first got on there, I was like, I'm gonna be a little bit more serious, in my mind. I'm like, so people can't figure me out. And then I'm like, no, like why? You can make it far, which I didn't, but still, you can make it on a show, and you can make it far by being yourself. And I feel like it's just hilarious, because there were so many even other scenes that were, to me, were like hilarious but didn't make it. And yeah, like a lot of people tell me I'm funny, and like it was after I thought they were gonna show it because it would have been so damn fun to watch my face after somebody, like, everybody said no, I didn't take the money or whatever. I'm like twerking. I'm like one for the money, and like just like leading the crowd in this like damn dance. And then I'm like, and then when because they didn't show, like, you heard someone say like no when we found out like there was no money added to the pot, and that was me. And so like my mouth was like, and then I eventually was like, and Tony was sitting right in front of me, and I'm like, it better not have been you. And he's like no. And I'm like, I swear to God. And so I'm just like looking around, and I'm like, and that's when I started calling people out. And so like it was like, I was like, okay, let's all get hilarious then. And I was like, because they were like, people were saying that like Muna had a hard time working the walkie-talkie. And I like look at Muna, and I'm like, I think it's crazy, that you're in IT, but you couldn't work the walkie-talkie. And I'm like, Mike, let's get on your name. And I'm like, I heard they were telling you to go left, and your ass went right. And then I was like, Sean, I heard you were throwing balls backwards. What was that about? I'm like, anybody want to confess? And so they cut some of that out. And then when that's when like no one was. So then like Mike made his case. Sean kind of stayed quiet, and then you see that team. I'm like, Muna, But that's after I had just yelled at everybody, and she was like, "It wasn't me," and I'm like, "I'm asking," that. So like,
I do remember that scene. It's like you're like, so that's Muna, was it you? She's like, it wasn't me. Girl, I'm just asking. It was so funny.
Like, but that was after I called her out talking about you're in IT, but you don't know how to work a walkie-talkie. And I think like the twerking scene would have been hilarious. So like, look at this excited ass girl, then you see me like no, like just ain't no damn, like come on y'all, be for real. And so like little stuff like that I personally thought was hilarious.
I can envision it, honestly. Like as you were describing that, like I could see that happening.
Yeah.
So no, that's a really incredible. And I'm wondering, so then in terms of, you seem to really like connect with Tony and Hannah, and then even the way you call it Muna, it feels like not as if you're like distrusting her, you're just like having this conversation. How did you notice like who you gravitated to? Who did you like trust naturally, and who was like like also giving you kind of suspicious energy from the start?
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think I gravitated towards, so Tony's like a big goofball, and honestly I don't take a lot of things serious. Like the only time you go see me serious is if I'm angry or sad or something. And so like Tony was just laughing at everything. Like you don't see that throughout the mission, but like he was cracking up and I was cracking up and we would make eye contact and we're like here. And so I gravitated towards Tony because of his humor. I gravitated towards Hannah because I thought everybody there was beautiful, but I'm like, oh, like she's young, she's fun, like she's gonna be great energy. And so like we were standing together for a good portion of the time. And when the intruders came, I don't know what we thought, but we grabbed each other's hand and it was like, don't vote me off. And I was like, I won't vote you off, you don't vote me off. And like we were like here. So I stepped forward. If you see me forward, I thought it was gonna be like a race. So I'm like, I'm gonna get a head start, right? And so I think I gravitated towards those two based on like that mission, kind of like where we were standing and Ari was explaining everything. But Muna, just in general, she's another Black woman, and so I gravitated towards her because she also like lives in Minneapolis, and at that time I had a boyfriend, and he lived in Minneapolis at the time, and so I'm like, I go see my boyfriend all the time. I'll come visit you. And in general, like I feel like in the words of Issa Rae, I'm rooting for everybody Black. Yeah. And so like even though like I told Muna about herself or whatever the case might be, they don't show like me and Muna actually bonding. Like her telling me like, yo, your energy's like keeping me like this is hilarious. Like you're so fun to be around. And so like I know they show like it makes it, I guess like the show is like makes it seem like me and Muna had an issue, or I called her out specifically, which I did call her out, but I called other people out as well.
But even the way you said it didn't strike me as like you didn't trust her. It struck me as like, oh, like y'all already just started up here as like a step of understanding. Like,
yes,
the way you said it, you was like Muna wasn't like, it didn't feel like beef to me. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right? Yeah. Like no, I like regardless. Like I was rooting for Muna for the very end. Like you don't even see it at the reveal. Like I was like this the whole time. Like Muna. I'm like as much as I love Mike and I love Sean, like I'm rooting for everybody Black as well. And so respectfully,
I was like, how do I say that respectfully? Like I like Mike. He's great, really funny, super personable. Yes. But in that finale, I was like, Muna, if you don't take this cash home,
man, I cried. I cried. I don't know if like I cried before. I don't even think Muna cried right then and there. Like I literally cried because it's just like I'm from Venezuela, and her story about her family. Like I have family still in Venezuela. Venezuela is a developing nation, and we're at odds with the U.S. And so, like, it's just a lot that goes into, like, lack of funding, lack of aid. The same with Muna. Like, the same way she wanted to take care of her family. Like, I personally, felt that. And so I'm like, not saying Mike didn't have anything useful to do with money. I'm sure he does. But it's just like, I was born there. I lived in Venezuela until I was 7. I came to America knowing no English. My parents were very poor. We lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and it was 7 of us. Me, my mother, my sister, my brothers, and my grandparents. And so like we lived in like a very poor area of Maryland, and we worked our way up. And some of my family is still in Venezuela. I have family in Guyana. I have family everywhere. And like that really resonated with me, like wanting to help that family and wanting to like to us, $100 is $100, right? But when I send $100 back to my family in Venezuela, to them, that's like $500. Yeah. And so, like I said, Mike's great, amazing. I'm glad, to whatever he does with the money, go you. But like I said, Muna, girl, take that cash. Like, I literally remember, like I was like, I'm so proud of you. Like I felt like the Tyrese meme where he's like, congratulations.
I don't know this meme, but I felt that.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay, it's Tyrese. Like, I think his like ex-wife or something got married, and he was like sad, so he's like crying, and he's like, "Congratulations!" I was just sending to you, but that's how I felt. Like, I'm happy for you, but I also like wanted this black woman from an impoverished country, developing
yeah.
nation state, who defied odds to be here to
Right.
win, as respectfully as I know how to say it. So, yeah.
110%. I completely agree. All of my friends, like, we were watching the finale together, and I kind of like tricked them into watching it because they don't really watch reality TV. So I was like, "Come watch this with me." And they're
Yeah.
like, "All right, we'll come hang out with you." And we were all, and they're like some of my best friends from college as well. And they're like a group of just like Black and Latin women, and we were all like, "Come on, Muna." Come on, Muna. And then when they announced it, I was like, I'm so over this show. I was like, I'm so done.
Yeah, it just seemed like history
Yeah.
repeating itself on so many levels. Like even when she took the correction, it just reminded me. I said before somebody even told us that somebody took it. I said, wouldn't it be funny the way everybody trusted you your season and you took the correction, like the exemption or whatever? I'm like, wouldn't it be funny like everybody put their trust in a black woman and y'all did something crazy? And I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if it was Luna? But I was like, nah, no way. I'm like, history repeated itself one. But then
Yeah.
again, it just felt like I don't know. Like it was like I feel like when like Mike won, it was like the economy in a way to like Will winning and like the black woman losing, and it just like to me it just felt like the epitome of like America. Like here again,
Yeah.
here's the black woman losing to the white man, and like I said, it's not about race in this instance. I think Mike played a hell of a game, and like go you, but it's just like I think that would like I think you had a very hard job in general as well because it's also hard like because I feel like a part of you is also thinking of like friendships outside of this and like wow these people are amazing people and I want to see you outside but then you have to deceive them and whatever like I'm relying like it was somebody who asked me who I think the mole was and I'm like oh Q and I never doubted Q I'm like you ain't no damn Q I ain't pick Q but I'm like I feel bad lying I forgot who it was it might have been Melissa, I don't know. And Melissa's also like somebody that I like God really gravitated towards. And I just really I felt her energy, I felt her spirit. I'm like, I love calm
Mel's
people. I'm
energy
such
is
a
like,
hyper person. No, she's like the big sister. I mean, I have two big sisters, right? But like Melissa's like the big sister, like, Jen, do we really want to do that? Like, how about we think this through? Like, what do you think about like, and she's had to like correct me once or twice, like, and she just has such a loving spirit. And I'm
yeah.
just like, no, I'm like, thank you for telling me that. I did an interview and they asked about like Niche being the leader, to be honest, and I'm like I'm just like I just felt like his cut just kind of irritated me, like the whole leader scenario or whatever. And she said something that really resonated with me because I found myself like on Twitter like retweeting stuff about like him being a leader. Like some of it was like rude, but I'm like it's hilarious because who told your ass to say that? But Melissa said something along the lines of like I just don't feel like we need to be attacking from home, and she wasn't talking about that in particular because I don't even have her on Twitter. Like she would know. But she's like, like, even if people feel away, like, let's be nice to each other inside because there's already so much hate coming from the outside. I'm like, damn, you're right. And like, I didn't even tell her I was like retweeting shit about Niche. It was just like, I just thought it was hilarious. Like, I feel this way too, but you're right. Like, I don't want somebody from inside the cast like do anything. And she just like really gave me a break. I'm like, damn, I really needed to hear that in all aspects of my life. And I'm just like, heaven sent, chef's kiss to her. Like, she's phenomenal woman.
That is wisdom, though. It's true. It's because you're going to get it from all types of ways. And I think, like, at least from the inside, it feels like you can just, the same relationship you have with your siblings, right? It's like, you can talk trash about them, you can say something about them, but you understand their emotions, you're probably gonna comment it a certain way. But let someone from the outside, you can be like, shut it down. But I think she has a good point in that sense, like, all right, you can't shut it down from the outside, so let's like just take care of each other from the inside. And if you are gonna critique, I feel like you can deliver it in such a more loving way than any stranger.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
You never know who you'll end up getting closer to.
And speaking to your other point, I'm going to backtrack for a second and then fast forward, but I'm wondering, and I got asked this question too, like being from Venezuela, being Guyanese as well.
Yes.
Did you feel any pressure? Like you mentioned that you like maybe I was going to be more serious, but did you feel any pressure about like what you represented and you being on screen and how you represented like your family and being Black and like Caribbean and like Latin, like all those things and all those identities?
Yeah, I definitely felt that way. I think just in general, I felt like, wow, like, I mean, and there might be other Caribbean people like on reality TV. I don't watch that much reality TV, right? But I'm like, from Guyana, it's very rare because we're such a small island, like nation state, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like Venezuela, like that. Venezuelans barely even get visas to come to America, right? Because of everything going on politically. And I'm
Yeah.
also in international affairs, so that's my life, that's my passion, whatever the case might be. And so I was just like, I remember like I packed like my family. Like this is like ongoing joke with my family. Like it's like Gaza for life, and not Gaza from Palestine, but that's another topic. But like Gaza is where one of our favorite singers, he's Jamaican, his name is Vibes Cartel, is from, and we're all like Gaza gang. It's just like a place where he's from, and we love
Wait,
his music,
Vibes
right? And
Cartel is from.
Jamaica, he's Jamaican.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
Vibes Cartel girl. Yeah, yeah.
I
And
was like, wait,
so
hold on.
you
I was
know,
like, are you saying he's from Guyana? Because I thought, okay.
no, but there's just like this thing. My cousins and all say we're like Gaza for life, and like we have like carnivals of flags, and so like I took my flags, like like I was like in one of the episodes you're gonna see me like with a bandana or something, and it's gonna like fully represent that. Like, and all my cousins were like in some interview or something shout out like Gaza for life, and so I'm like I gotta put Guyana on the map. I gotta wear the flag. I had my necklace, and I wanted like to wear like the Venezuela. I didn't get a chance to switch it out because it was obviously so short lived, and I had the Nefertiti pendant. But I was just like, people need to know about this. I'm like, this is also a way to raise social awareness, whatever. Let me put my IR sense in it. I'm doing sociology for a PhD. Let me put my sociological hat on. And so I'm like, Guyana, Venezuela, like you seldomly meet women, black women from those places, and like my cousin's already like hyping me up, like take the flag, take the Gaza for life, Gaza Nation nonsense, like take that with you. And I'm like, damn, like I feel like I let them down to an extent because I'm like, damn, I didn't even get to like show that, even though like obviously for my Instagram people can see that. And I also feel like in terms of like my family, my dad is very, he's my mom is like me, she's out there, she's bubbly, she's like open. My dad is like stricter, he doesn't talk much, he's chill, and like I still have to like represent people in a positive light. And I've grown so much from like I'll curse your ass out, like I really try not to be in that mindset of I'll curse your ass out. And so I was like, I still have to keep it together, I still have to try to keep my emotions together. I think also I eventually did want to talk about being born in Venezuela, not knowing English when I came here. My parents being born in Guyana, moving to Venezuela for a better life, like them having to start their life over. Guyana is a English speaking country, and then like having to learn Spanish at like my parents moved at like 30 something or maybe 20 something, depend, I forgot honestly. And like I did want to incorporate all of that and like just let other migrants know like, yo, this is achievable, like you're good,
Yeah.
just try, it doesn't hurt to try. And I didn't get a chance to, but I still hope to use my platform to discuss things like that in the future.
Oh my God. But how did you, it sounds like, what did you decided to kind of still be everything. It sounds like you were still calling people out. You maybe didn't curse.
Yeah, right. I call people out in the most professional way I knew how to.
That's honestly the method to the madness. I think with anyone who's feeling pressure, any like black or minority that feels like you're representing like a whole group of people and you're a family, is to really just be yourself and maybe tone down the things that might not go over well depending on your job, but just genuinely just be yourself. And I think that is the most impactful thing, because people need to see that. They need to see like,
Exactly.
this looks different ways. There is like a common culture,
Yeah.
but there's also variations to this. And so just like expand your ideal around like what we are supposed to look like.
Exactly.
So I think that might be the key, because I remember being asked it a lot, and I was like, oh, like I think all I can do is just like be Kesi. Like I'm not like a lot of stereotypes, and I am a lot of stereotypes, and I just like I can't dance through that. I just have to like be myself. So
yeah, exactly. And it worked out for you well. Like you've made some amazing fans. Like you presented yourself so well, so much class, so much grace, so much calmness, especially in the position that you were placed in. Like I feel like even that motivated me. Like I remember I never heard of the mole before I watched the Netflix one, and I remember
really?
like watching you, and I never suspected you. You're the only person I did. I'm like, what the? Like this girl is bomb. And I remember I made my cousin Sharice watch it, and she's very analytical. Like she did psychology for her undergrad, and she's just like, I'm like, if anybody can figure it out, it's gonna be Sharice's ass. And she's like, you need to be on this show. And I'm like, Cassie did it with such damn grace. Like I'm like, I think I can do the same. Like that's what motivated me to apply. Like Sharice watching it, me never guessing it was you. I'm like, you can be your authentic self. You don't have to be this crazy person. You don't have to put on a show for anybody. Like, you can be yourself and be graceful and represent people in a positive light, and you'll still make it far as hell, And so, like, you're part of the reason why I applied to, like, go you, like, seriously, like, amazing.
I'm not crying today. That's not what I'm going to do. So that is really, really sweet. I appreciate that.
No, yeah, like, I aspire to be able to carry myself with, like, I mean, I do, right? But, like, sometimes, like I said, I'm emotions led. And sometimes I like, my cousins call me Take It Too Far Anna, because Anna's my family name or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sometimes I do, you know what? Yes, I take it too damn far. And I'm like, you can carry people and still, like, be angry and still show emotions, but with grace. And I think you did so phenomenal. And it's rare to see it sometimes, because I feel like, especially how Black women are presented in the media, it's not amazing. And the fact that, like, I'm like, people came out of the show, Black women came out of the show looking like, I can show this to my mom. I don't have to, like, hide the show from my parents and act like, don't be ashamed of me. Like, and I'm like, I can do that. Like, motivational, truly.
Wow. Well, yeah, I'm really touched. And again, I'm not crying today. So I appreciate you saying that. And I do think it's like, it's kind of layered, right? I think like parts of that is definitely me. I think most of it's me. And parts of it is like a little bit, I don't know who that girl is, but I would chop it up to the fact that I'm lying about lying and lying again. So like, you know what? I'm going to leave it at that. But all that to say, like, I do, what really like resonates with me from what you said too, is that there are different ways, you know, there are different ways to show up. And I think for me, like, that was a natural way for me. If I'm like angry or need to say something, 75% of it is what I would be in real life. But I also really do admire, like, I think even Joy and Samara had their own ways of like really being present.
Yeah.
And the way that they would like maybe call people out, or maybe how they were like reserved or calm, and it looked very different. And I think that's what's really beautiful. And maybe like, so I think that's also for you too, like the way that you are describing how you went around the table and was like, oh, let's talk about it. Like, I know that you were also just really funny while you did it, you know? That it was like serious, but you're like, and I think that's just extraordinary and just like really illuminating of like how like diverse Black women can be. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm super glad that you went on the show, because I think you brought something very different than Samara, Joy, and I brought. Like, it's genuinely you, and that's like spectacular.
No,
so I'm glad that your cousin said that and made you audition, and then the producers
exactly
goes up. My next question for you too, though, is, okay, you talked a lot about like you feel a little bit like, because you had one episode, that you feel a little different. I'm wondering, how did you process that, kind of reconciling those feelings of like having this idea of what you wanted to happen and then it being completely different, and also knowing that you're so capable. How did you really process those emotions?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's a great question. I think it was really, really hard. And I think a part of me knew I would go home first. Like, I think I'm very intuitive. Like, I prayed about it. Like, I feel like me and my Jesus relationship have gotten very strong throughout the years. And before I went, I was making jokes to everybody. Like, no clue. I'm like, wouldn't it be funny if I go home first? And I'm like, But also, like, in my Christianity, I can't really speak things into existence. Like, the power of the tongue is real, but at the end of the day, I'm like, Jesus has the ultimate say. And so, like, I was like, why do I keep making, like, what's funny about that? Like, I'm like, why am I, like, subconsciously saying that joke? And before I left, when I was the last one to do the quiz, and a part of me was like, oh, crap, I forgot this time. But while I was doing the quiz, like, they were setting up, like, they were like finishing up the lighting and stuff, and I was the only one left, and it was just me. I finished the quiz and I sat there and I was staring at a red light, and the red light, like, wasn't from the quiz, it was just like from the lighting for the show. And I'm like, is this like, I remember thinking, like, is this symbolic? And I'm just like, maybe I'm tripping. And so, like, I was already kind of seeing those signs, right? And I'm just like, and so, like, a part of me, like, 2 parts of me were like prepped for that, and then the other part was like, no, out of all the people here, there's no way, like, it's gonna fall on me. And so when it did happen, I'm like, nah, this is a joke. Like, clearly somebody's like, I mean, for a while I was in denial. Like the whole ride home, I'm like, nah, like, they're going to call me back, like there was an IT error, because, like I said, like, not to be cocky, but I was one of the smartest people there. Like, in my opinion, no one has, that could be subjective.
And
that's my objective
in your
reality.
cast opinion too. I've heard so many people talk about that in their interviews, how smart you are.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. And so, I was like, but I cried for a really long time. It took me a while to, like, call anybody per se, because I'm just like, part of me was like, I don't want to speak to anybody, like my therapist, whatever, but it's just like, you can't, then you're like under NDA, and like you can't really talk to people that much or whatever the case might be. But, my boyfriend actually ended up, well, my boyfriend at the time, sorry, ended up coming out there. Let me be clear. He ended up coming out there. And so like that was a great relief, knowing he was coming. And so, part of me was also like the year before I prayed, I was like, God, I'm on a solo vacation. I don't know how you want to give it to me, but I want that. And then like, it was such a blessing in disguise. Like it took me a while, right, to figure out like, this is the blessing that you asked God for. Like it's a paid solo vacation. At the end of the day, we still got some type of funds for being there. And, it took me like a week to really process my emotions. I was very angry with God, Netflix, everybody. Even though Netflix was phenomenal, they were super sweet, super kind about everything. Like really tried their hardest to make me like feel at home. Like they even offered to like fly me back like home and then fly me back for the reunion. The reveal. I'm sorry. And I'm like, that's like super kind. I just kept saying I want to go home, being a little bratty about it. And so then the next day when they were telling me like, we're willing to fly you home if you all will buy your plane ticket and come back, and they're like, we have good news. I'm like, they're bringing me back. I'm like, this is my job moment. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm ready. I'm like, I know who it's not. And then they told me, and I'm like, please don't waste my time. Do not, like, don't good news these nuts. Like, what the hell? Like, don't get my hopes up,
What
and
was
so,
the
like,
good news?
that, like, that they were willing to fly me back to Maryland.
Oh, that was the good news. Okay.
Which is kind of them. Yes, it was kind of them. Fine. But, like, that's not the news nobody wants to hear. And so, it just took, I feel like it took like 2 weeks for me to like really like, you know what, God, blessing in disguise, and like really just start doing stuff. Cause I'm like, okay, this is like, I guess by that time I had like 4 weeks left, if that, probably less than that actually, angry and like just rethinking my decisions. But you know what, at the end of the day, like God has my steps divinely planned. And I feel like I really relied on my religion and my faith during those times as well. And I made the best out of it. Like I was at the mall, I did a lot of stuff, a lot of self-reflecting, a lot of working out, whatever the case might be. I had a good time.
Oh, I love that. Did you write all, or did you have someone that you could talk to about?
Yeah, I write a lot. I was writing a lot.
Okay.
I was writing a lot. I write just in my everyday life. I've been writing since I have my first journal from when I was about 7 years old. So very like chicken scratch, but I still have it. I hold it near and dear to my heart.
I totally feel that. I feel the same way. I've been journaling since I was younger. And even after the mole, I journaled for about 2 months about every single day, about everything that happened.
Yep, exactly.
My mom somehow knew. And I understand your sentiment of having these emotions, and you really you don't have your support system, but you're used to having, right? Used to having, like, being able to call your friends, and, like, gladly you had your boyfriend, and gladly you could write, but you probably couldn't talk to your parents about it, or anyone else you would normally go to. And it's really tough. And I think my mom, when I came back, she was like, I don't know everything that happened in Australia, but I just feel like a lot happened. And I was like, yeah, you feel right. Tell you later.
Exactly. It's like the pressure.
Yeah, exactly. So I should have asked you this first, because this is still the funniest thing I've heard from the mole from season 2. Funniest story. Okay, when did you wake up and decide you were about to go to Bali from Malaysia?
We didn't have our passports for a while, and I didn't have any form of ID, and we were really going to travel within Malaysia, like just like see different parts and stuff, because it was cheap. And I'm like, okay, cool, my boyfriend's coming down, and then Bali's just somewhere we always wanted to go. And then like I looked at flights and they were like 100, and I'm like, like I can travel in Malaysia or I can travel into Bali. And I'm like, he's coming all the way here. I mean, he bought his ticket on a whim, so I'm just like, it's giving Bali. And I was like, I'm not telling, I was like, I wasn't sure if we were allowed to leave or not. And I'm just like, to be sure, I don't want to say it. And then they tell me no. And then I get in more trouble for going after they told me no.
That's fair.
And so when I looked at flights and saw the price, I had already made up my mind, to be quite honest. I'm not going to lie. It is what it is at that point. And they were freaking out. Like, rightfully so. I was wrong. Yeah. Cry me a river. We've not been here for a while. God damn it. So yeah, like as soon as I saw the price, I knew. I was like looking stuff up. I was like looking up Airbnbs. Like it gave me like while I was there, I was like excited. I'm like, yes, like something to look forward to, and that was getting to visit somewhere I always free. I'm like, when am I ever going to be this close to freaking Bali again? And honestly, if I didn't get in trouble, I would have snuck my ass to Thailand and New Zealand and everywhere else while I was out there.
Oh my God! How long were you in Bali for?
Yeah, about a week, about 5 days.
Honestly, why didn't you stay longer?
Because I was scared. I don't know. I punked out, and then he was leaving. He didn't get that much time off of work, and I still wanted him to see Malaysia as well. So I was just kind of like, just try to let you see two countries in one time frame.
Okay, that's fair. Because I was gonna say, if you're gonna go all the way to Bali and maybe break a rule, maybe
But
not.
it was like a 2-hour flight.
Oh, that's
yeah.
true.
It was
You
like
could have gone
super
back potentially.
Yeah, but I got in trouble, so I punked out. Yeah, I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Like,
Okay, wait. So
yeah.
can you please explain? So you're coming back. You're looking at your passport. Did you? What made you tell them?
Yeah, I looked at the passport and it said, so there were like two visas on there or something like that. But the first visa I saw said one entry. And I honestly had to use the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, my stuff is in Malaysia. What am I going to do without my stuff? I have to film the review. Like, I can go home from here, but how's that going to work? So I'm like freaking out. And so I told them when I was on the plane from Bali to freaking Malaysia and turned my phone off because I was like frightened. I'm like, damn it, like Netflix is going to sue my ass. I don't know what
Turning
I
your
thought.
phone off
And I
is a
didn't want to tell.
bold move, Jen. It's
Yeah, and I didn't tell like my boyfriend at the time because I'm just like, he's gonna be like, don't worry about it, but shut up. Yes, I have to worry about it. So I was just like, the whole plane ride I was shaking. Like I was like, oh my God, what the
You
hell
know,
did
it's
I just
actually
do?
giving youngest sibling energy. Are you the youngest?
Yeah. Oh, I'm the youngest sibling. Yes, I'm the
102%.
youngest of five. Yes, I'm
That
the
is
youngest of
some. That
five.
is like I will destroy and then come back and
Yes.
see this later.
Yeah, like it was like booth. And then when I got back, like I felt bad because the person who was like our person while we were eliminated, she's a super sweet person. Like I love her, and she's like, oh my God, like calling me, and she's like, I could have got fired for this because you told me you were going to Malaysia, which I did, and which I thought was the original plan, but like, I just didn't kind of communicate the other part. And I felt horrible, and they took my passport, and they were looking at it for like 20 minutes, and they had like my ex boyfriend like go, and I'm just like, oh my God, and he's like, what's the hold up? Like, shut up, I don't know, damn, like let me sort this crap out. And then they give it back to me, and we're like, okay. And I'm I was like, Jesus, you are King Lord. My life was
Wait, so did
dedicated to
you
you. You
have
got me
you
out of
had a
this.
single entry visa and they let you through still?
But then they had two. They switched it. The original one was single entry, and Netflix, for whatever, decided to give us a double one. So we had two visas on that
Oh,
passport,
I see.
basically.
Because they knew they were like just in case. Let it
Yeah,
just
I don't know why
morphose.
they did it, but they did it. I'm like, bet, like
Okay,
whatever.
got
But I'm
you.
like, other things like, can I call the State Department? Like, can I enter in as a tourist because of the work? Like, I'm like trying to, use my international relations mind. Like, how can I get myself out of this? But I'm like, I'm not an immigration lawyer. Let me just contact them and figure that out.
That is so funny. My last question for you. I'm gonna let you pick. There's two options.
Sure.
One is I definitely would love to hear how you became so passionate about like international policy and women like empowerment and also social
Yeah.
change. Or the other question you can pick is what were you really looking for when you were looking for the mole? And how did you like what characteristics were you searching for? So you can pick either one. There's no right or wrong question, just whatever feels right in your soul.
Yeah, I'll go to what I was looking for. No, I'm sorry, the international policy one, just because the one for the mole, I had a list of things that the mole, like characteristics, like criminal mind style, like the unsub is gonna like not get that close to people, build like whatever, and that's on my Instagram like stories with the Netflix thing. So people like I wrote it down and put it on there so people can see that at any time. So yeah, I'll go to the international policy one. I've always like being from Venezuela, it opened my eyes. Like I remember coming here like why did it look so different? Venezuela is not that technically far from the U.S. Like since I was young, like I'm also very nosy. So just in general, I'm like, why does this country didn't like each other? Like, I treat countries as people. Like why was Russia? How did Russia lose the Cold War? And it's just like, what was the Cold War? Like I've always been interested in it. Like I said, I'm nosy in my lifetime in just general, and so that was like a great motivator. I also have some people in my family. Like I have an ambassador in my family. I have a diplomat in my family. And so like hearing them talk about it and treating a country as a person, it's like, And so when it comes to inequalities and about countries, it's like, well, why does Venezuela have access to oil? But we're like, we're not doing amazing economically. Like oil drives the world,
Mm.
and so like little things being from Venezuela and coming here and like having this interpretation of what the American dream was and then coming to the American reality. Like in Venezuela, we had a 3-bedroom apartment. I came here thinking I was going to have grass and a fence and a pool, and it was a 1-bedroom apartment and a 7 people in that household. And I'm like, what the hell? And so when I went to school for my bachelor's, I honestly started as pre-dentistry. My parents wanted me to do something in the medical field. It's like every foreigner's dream, I guess. And I didn't like it. And so I did environmental studies versus environmental science. And environmental studies really focuses on the drivers of these environmental externalities and burdens, and like what we as people do to, you know, enforce that or exacerbate it, right? And so I'm like, interesting. I kind of like stuck to environmental studies because, one, I always cared about natural resources and things of that nature. But I also was like, you know, I already had some credits from like my biochem days from trying to do pre-dentistry. I'm like, I had a full ride to that. I'm like, I need to graduate within a certain amount of time. I need to get my life together and just do it. And then I'm like, okay, for my master's, I'll do international studies. And for my bachelor's, because I wasn't as focused, I didn't have like the best GPA. I think I had it under a 3.0 for my bachelor's. Like I was like, I could lose my scholarship. And for my master's, I'm like, I'm just gonna try something completely new. And I had a 4.0, and I'm like, that's how I knew that that was my passion, right? And so like women empowerment in general, being a Black woman, being a woman by itself is already a lot. When you intersect it with being a Black woman, it's like, why? How does racism, how does slavery still play a part in every single one of us today? Like how does Jim Crow laws still affect us in a different format, and people don't even know about it? And so for a while I had this IG page dedicated to international issues where I would break down very complex international matters, and so like millennial friendly. It was called IT with me. Yeah, I deleted it for various reasons, but it was called IT with me, and I would come on like, y'all got the tea for you, and I'm like, let me tell you what Russia's got going on today, and I would like break it down in a funny way that people could digest it. And I'm like, okay, people might do something about it, or more inclined to do something about it if they know the history behind it, right? And so like for me, I've always been obsessed, for example, Israel and Palestine conflict, how it started, because I'm very into theology as well. So I'm like, let's intersect those, theology plus IR, like this has a religious basis to it, like, you know, just learning more about God. I'm like, nobody knows about it, that's why no one cares. And I'm like, I can use my platform in a funny way to tell people about it. And like for a while, like I used to do that every single Tuesday, and then I switched jobs, and like I set the clearance level, and they look into a lot of the stuff that you do online, and I'm like, a lot of it wasn't non-biased. I was like criticizing, you know, some of the U.S.'s decisions, and I didn't want anything to interfere with my job, because my job is like the perfect mixture of environmental issues, sociological issues, and international issues. Like I'm very blessed to be in the position that I'm in, especially at my age. And so I was like, whatever. I'm thinking of starting again, but trying to do it in a more non-biased format. And so like I was like, I think people will care about these issues. Like so many people are scared to watch the news if I can say it in a funny way. And that's what I used to do. Some of the videos might still be up there. Actually, I'll send you one or two just so you can see how the page used to be.
Yeah,
but yeah, like that was like a huge driver. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I would love that. And I love things like that, like the make it plain type of videos, because there's so many concepts, I think, and which I also think is a certain indicator of how well you understand, you know?
Yeah, and for sure.
If you really can understand it and make it plain, it's one, reflective of you, and two, you're really connecting to people, because it's like less isolating. So I really love that. Oh my God, I am so excited that you jumped on this with me. This was really beautiful, and I just wanted to meet you. If you come for Labor Day,
yes,
I'll let you know if I'll be here, actually, but let me know anyway.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I might be planning up there before. My cousin's coming down from Guyana, so I'm like, I might meet her there. So I'll let you know 100%. My sister's husband lives out there, and he lives in Manhattan. So I'm like, you know, if I stay over there, I'll like let you know so we can link up in some capacity. It might be before Labor Day, actually.
Really? You know, this is what makes me really excited about being in New York. If I was in Kentucky, I would be like, I'll see you never. But
New York, I live in DC, very close to home.
I love that. I'm gonna let you go, but obviously, you know where to find me. I've laughed so many times messaging you, so I hope it continues.
Thank you. Yes. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this. Like, this was awesome. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Likewise. Bye.
Love ya. Thank you so much. See you later. Have a wonderful day.
Bye.